Hey, beautiful. You looking gorgeous today. So today we're gonna be watching some scary videos. Ooh. I had to turn on some lights because I feel like it was too dark in here. And because I'm a scaredy cat. I don't know what the formal disclaimer is, but these are not my ideas, and the links will be in the description box below. So the first two videos are from a channel called Snarled. I'm actually subscribed to that channel. I love it so much. So the first video is called The Curse of Sava Savanic. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. But let's get this started after the ads.
Hey, I'm Sapphire.
Wanting something scary.
The Vampire of Serbia. Did you know that one of the only words in the Serbian language that is used globally is vampire? It comes from vampire. Many cultures have their own variation of a vampire, but the word itself comes from Serbia, as does today's story, inspired by a submission from Alex. In the mountains of Serbia in the 1700s lived a man in a watermill. His name was Sava Savanovic. He was a gaunt, pale, hermit-like man, rarely seen in the daytime. Villagers would come to get flour from the mill, but never stayed long, as rumor had it that those who visited the mill never returned. One morning, a customer entered the mill to find Sava dead, with two unusual bloody spots on his neck. When the villagers moved his body, a yellow butterfly crawled out his mouth and flew away. The authorities investigated the scene, but the culprit was never found. After Sava was buried, the watermill was abandoned. The villagers said it was cursed. Many years passed, and a poor young man named Strahinja fell in love with Radoika, the daughter of a wealthy landowner named Sivan. Sivan forbade Radoika to marry Strahinja because he could not trust that this penniless young man could support his daughter. But Strahinja was determined to prove himself to Sivan. If he could get the local abandoned mill up and running again, he too could become a wealthy man. My dear, Radoika begged, I know that you're trying to win my father over, but that mill is dangerous. It isn't worth it. Strahinja looked deep into her eyes.
You could do anything else to get some money.
You are worth it. So Strahinja reopened the abandoned mill. Business was slow at first, but the villagers, desperate for a way to make bread, started trickling in to buy grain. So he slept in a small, windowless room that he padlocked each night, his gun always within reach.
That's smart.
Every night, the inside of the mill would rattle as if someone was rummaging around. He was terrified. As soon as he was married, he would abandon the mill. On the eve of their wedding, the pounding was so hard, the door flung open, and a tall, gaunt man looked down at Strahinja, who took aim with his gun. "Who are you?" demanded Strahinja. The man smiled.
Who are you? You are trespassing in my home.
Okay, hold up. I should have did this with headphones in. That voice. Let me turn this down a little bit. That made my chills see.
Strahinja couldn't believe it. It was Sava. The man leapt on top of him, and he fired at his chest. Sava screeched an unholy noise and flew up to the rafters out of the mill. Worried villagers arrived as Strahinja exited in a panic. Sava was here! An elder led Strahinja to a graveyard. There lay the old tombstone of Sava Savanovic, but the earth above his grave was loose. Strahinja dug up the dirt, revealing the coffin. They pried it open, and there, in the moonlight, with a fresh bullet wound through his chest. How do we kill an undying man? The villagers murmured. We hold him here forever, Strahinja replied as he took a metal spike from his overcoat and hammered it down through the corpse's chest. Sava's eyes flew open, his mouth agape. The villagers reeled back as a yellow butterfly slowly climbed out of Sava's mouth and took off into the night sky. Strahinja returned to his dear Radoka's home to share the good news. As he opened her bedroom door, he noticed her window was left open. In flew the yellow butterfly. It landed on her sleeping lips and climbed its way inside her mouth. Strahinja ran to get the butterfly out, but it was too late. Radoka's eyes fluttered open. Her warm smile turned to a devilish grin, revealing 2 sharp teeth in the pale moonlight. She sank her fangs into Strahinja's neck. And now, they would finally be together.
So that one wasn't that bad. At least he got his bullet in. But that voice kind of I'm gonna regret this. But I like watching Snarl. Like, I like watching scary things during the day. It's like nighttime, so how am I supposed to sleep? How? Alright. The next one by Snarled again is called The Beasts in the Orchard. After the ads. I'm sorry if you guys hearing like background noise, you know, still in college.
Hey, I'm Sapphire.
You wanna hear something scary?
Click, click, shh. The following story was inspired by a submission from Ellie. Legend has it that in a rural Navajo town called Many Farms, there was once a fruit tree orchard behind the lake. The town's less fortunate would steal from it late at night when the owner was asleep. When he finally caught on, the owner was so angry that he asked the devil to turn him into a tall, hairless, and incredibly fast monster to scare away the thieves. The orchard may be gone now, but all the town's elders claim that the monster is still there, waiting to attack anyone who comes near his property. Click, click, shh, they'd say. That's the sound he makes, like a horse clicking and dragging his feet. If you ask any of the townspeople about this legend, they'll tell you about a man named Koi. He was working for a construction company building a new gas station. If the work went into the night, he was paid overtime, so some nights he would stay as late as 3 a.m. But every morning, his grandmother, who he lived with, would beg him to come home earlier because she was afraid of the click-click shh. Koi would always laugh her off. Does it sound like this, Grandma? He'd tap his cheap, oversized boots twice on the ground and drag them, while chuckling at his poor grandma's reaction. You listen to me, young
He's
man.
rude.
Something lives by
like
that
this?
lake. I've heard it, she'd insist. But he'd pretend not to hear her as he ran off for work. One night, when he was working late, a pair of elders on his crew began trading their own stories. Koi found himself taking a pause in his drilling work to hear the stories. When his foreman walked up and told him to get back to work. That night, driving home from work, Koi's truck suddenly shut down. The battery had died, which meant he would have to walk the rest of the way home. As he started the 5-mile trek, he noticed the beauty of the moon shining down on the lake and chuckled to himself about the elders' stories. And that's when he heard it. Click, click, shh. Koi stopped and turned around, but nothing was there. He walked on, and there it came again. Click, click, shh. Thinking it must be the elders from work messing with him, Koi stopped and said, "Very
why would
funny.
an elder from
You can
work
come
stop
out
to
now."
mess with you? Like, why?
Click, shh. Koi turned again to see a figure in the tree line. It was tall and shaped like a human.
I'm gonna keep
Growing
my face
angry,
covered.
Koi slung a rock at it when, suddenly, it charged at him. Terrified, Koi ran for his life. The click-click followed his exact footsteps. He ran faster and faster, but the monster was catching up. As the end of the lake came into view, he was certain he'd be safe if he could just get to the other side. But then, Koi's oversized boots came loose, and he tripped and fell over.
Oh my
He
gosh.
heard the click-click as he turned to see its piercing yellow eyes and 6-inch claws glistening in the moonlight. He was tall, at least 7 feet, and his pale, hairless skin was covered in scars and goosebumps. His mouth looked
Can
like
it swim?
a shark's.
I wanna head towards the lake. Is
Several
that dumb
rows
to
of
head towards
teeth
the lake?
protruding. Koi looked up at the monster and whispered, "I'm sorry, Grandmother." no one saw Coy ever again, or so they say. So, pay a visit to many farms. You just might hear the click-click shh in the night. But if you do, don't bother running. You won't be fast enough.
Now, I can't run that fast, but I just feel like when I'm scared, just take off. He ain't running because he tripped. My shoes fit. I think I could do a few more. Let me find a different channel. There's this channel called Wimp Entertainment. I'll do 2 from this channel as well. So this one's called My Little Scary Teddy Bear. It can't be that bad, right?
Hi, my name is Shay. Well, at least that's what everyone calls me. About 11 years ago, my mom, my big brother, and I moved from Mississippi to Nashville, Tennessee. We were staying with my uncle and his wife and stepkids for a while until we got our own place. About a month later, we found an apartment to stay in. I had a bunch of teddy bears that I really liked between I was 12 going on 13. Well, when we finished to move our new house, I decorated my room really nice, and I set my teddy bears on my shelf above my bed. A week later, I noticed one of my teddy bears would always go missing, and I would find it under my brother's bed. I thought he was taking my teddy bear just to freak me out, but he really had no idea what I was talking about. It was
That teddy bear you throw away.
So I decided to lock all my bears in my closet. They stayed in my closet for 2 days. Everything was fine. That's what I thought until the 3rd day after has been started. The 3rd day, I woke up on a Saturday and my closet door was cracked and my teddy bear was in the same place under my brother's bed. I knew something was wrong. After that, I immediately threw my teddy bears away.
Pause.
After that.
Ain't no teddy bear strong enough to open
After
somebody.
that, we moved. I'll never forget the day of the move. We found bones in the fireplace from a human.
Did I jump a little? Did y'all see that?
Now I'm 23, and I still remember that day, but I always think, what if I set up a video camera to see what was causing my teddy bears to do what they did?
What was that? Oh my gosh. I ain't like that one. Y'all know I don't like jump scares. That little music.
Don't.
I guess I'll do something was in my apartment. Comment below if you get the same ads whenever you watch YouTube videos. I always get the same type of ads. It's kind of annoying. Like, I'm not buying anything.
It's a scary paranormal story that happened to me in my sophomore year in college.
Okay, he's in college too.
It still gives me creeps and scares me to this day. It's a true story. Trust me. As New Year has just begun, I moved into the apartment. It's a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 bathrooms. Me and my housemate got our own rooms. Everything seemed nice and got along great for the first week. I would often wake up to sounds in the middle of the night coming from the kitchen.
I'm already not messing with this background music. Ain't nobody
Since
eat
my
this
room
loud in
was
the
the
middle of the night. In the
closest
middle of the
to it.
night, you be quiet.
I
You
always
sneak
assumed
down
it
to
was
the
my
kitchen
roommate having a
and get
late
a little
night
snack.
snack.
You do not eat this loud.
After the second week, he told me that he was actually going to drop the university because he didn't feel so well physically and was kind of homesick. I was sad that he had to go, but I was a little excited thinking that I had the apartment to myself and wouldn't hear his midnight munchies. And that night, I woke up to noise from the kitchen again. I was a bit confused because I was the only one in the apartment. I was alone now.
I was a bit confused because I was the only one alone in the apartment. You're not confused. Something's in there.
I then went to investigate.
I then
and
went
found
to
a knife.
investigate. See, I don't investigate things that scare me. This is why I say I'll survive in a horror story or something, in a horror movie or whatever.
The floor in the kitchen. I put it
Okay,
back in the
knife.
drawer and went back to bed.
Put it back in
thinking
the
it might have
drawer.
fallen from
Don't
the counter.
get scared or anything yet. Cool,
A
cool.
few nights passed and I didn't hear a sound, except for this night. I heard
But
some
did you leave it on
sounds
the counter,
coming
though?
from my closet. It was about 3 a.m. and then I just felt a coldness around me, and my hair was standing up on my whole body. when I woke up
How y'all
to see
doing?
my closet.
Have y'all ever heard of
Suddenly, I
3
saw
a.m.
a
like
dark
haunting
figure
hours?
standing next to the closet.
Yeah.
It looked like a Dementor from the Harry Potter movies, but it disappeared in a few seconds. I figured I was having a wild imagination. The next day, I felt tired from all my classes, so when nighttime fell, I knocked out in my bed. That night was the night I would never forget. I remember waking up to some noise coming from behind me. I woke up and I realized that I couldn't move. All I could move were my eyes. I was laying in bed in fear. My heart started to thump really hard. I felt a cold air behind me as I
That's
felt
sleep
this
paralysis, you guys.
person
That's what
coming
that is.
closer.
That's what it feels like.
But I couldn't hear any footsteps. That's
can't
when I
move, you
realized
can't
the bed was
speak.
shaking viciously. But it wasn't because
Something's
of me.
there with you. I don't know. I don't know. Some people who have sleep paralysis don't feel a being, but I do.
I tried to see at the corner of the room and I saw the dark figure from the other day. This time it had red eyes, like those that
It
were
had
left.
eyes.
My heart sank when I saw it. Although I wasn't a strong believer in God until that moment, I
Until that
closed
moment.
my eyes and started to pray to God to help me. I started to remember my parents and friends. That's when I felt the figure stop. I just kept thinking of everything that made me happy and praying to God to help me. And finally, I felt the dark figure leave the room, retreating back to its corner. After 5 minutes, I was able to move my body. I decided to go sleep at my neighbor's apartment for the night as I ran away as fast as I could run.
That's a good neighbor.
I eventually moved out of that apartment by the end of the month. And now I'm always wondering if those things are what made my housemate leave. Needless to say, I'm glad I moved out.
See, this is why I can't move in somewhere and like not know. Like if I were to move in somewhere like an apartment or a house, I gotta do a background check. I gotta make sure nothing was killed there. It ain't no ancient burial grounds. Cause sis be scared, and sis is me. Okay, I don't know if I can do another one. I'm over here like this and like this. Let me see if I can find another good one. If I can't find another good one, this is over. This channel is called Stranger Stories, and this video is school lockdown horror story animated. So let's see.
Never miss another strange story. Subscribe and hit the bell. Sit back and get comfortable. I have a few stories to share with you.
Okay, intro. That was nice.
Gunshots erupted in the hallways during the transition from first to second period. Just as the first few shots echoed, the principal's shaky voice declared lockdown over the intercom. This was not a
Have
drill.
y'all school ever had lockdown?
Students dropped their backpacks and sprinted for their lives, diving into classrooms, whilst all teachers locked their doors and turned off the lights, ushering students under the desks. Being teenagers, the students had naturally believed themselves to be immortal. Now they all held back tears. This was the first time they've ever truly feared for their lives. Two panicked students barreled around the corner, then slid to a stop, a teacher's urgent whisper grabbing their attention.
Annie, Melissa, get in here.
Mr. Anderson called to them. The students rushed into the room with Mr. Anderson, the drama teacher, crying and trembling with fear.
It's gonna be okay. Don't worry.
Mr. Anderson said. It appeared he'd been shot, for he was clutching his leg as it bled. He let go of his leg to hold Annie tightly. trying to console her. Melissa joined the hug, clinging to him tightly.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Mr. Anderson repeated to them.
You'll be fine.
The girls almost believed him until he let go of them and took some steps back. They looked at him, confused. But then Melissa's jaw slowly dropped, unable to scream. Annie's eyes widened,
Oh my
tears
gosh.
slowly escaping her eyes
Did
and
he
moving
die?
down
What
her
is
face. Mr. Anderson smiled at
He
the
has a gun,
girls
doesn't he?
as he pulled a pistol from his pocket. His leg was fine. It was covered in flake blood. His smile never left his
Like,
face
how well do you know this, Mr. Anderson?
as he
Oh my
locked the
gosh.
door behind him and cocked his gun.
Okay, that wasn't scary. That was sad. That was really sad. I'm kind of upset by that one. Alright, let's find another one. I want to find a different channel. Alright, this one's from Phoenix, London. True Babysitter. Scary Story Animated.
When I was around 15, I had started babysitting a family with 3 kids, 2 boys, 1 girl. Their mom knew me as the oldest, was friends with my little brother, and asked my mom if I could help out just because she had started taking on more shifts and her husband was doing the same. They lived right next to my high school and paid well, so I agreed despite not really having that much experience. Pretty quickly I realized that it was going to be difficult.
Why do
The
babysitters
kids
do
were
that? They
great,
take on a
but I was
job
nervous around them.
with little experience.
The oldest was fine, just playing on his Xbox most of the time or
to
doing
no
homework,
experience.
but the 2 youngest were a different story. The middle child, daughter, was completely obsessed with horror movies, and on more than one occasion I had to hide the knives from her since she wanted to reenact them, and the youngest son tried to set the Christmas tree on fire.
The Christmas tree?
I know
See,
what kids can
be
be
a little
like
crazy
since I have a lot
sometimes.
of younger and older cousins, but these ones drove me insane, and I would constantly worry about them hurting themselves or each other. If they played up, I would threaten to call their mom, which normally would work. It was after a few months that I realized if I had mentioned their dad, that's when they would really just behave and do what I asked, so that's what I started doing. No, I never actually met the dad. I just knew that the guy was really tall and big and built, but was always described to me as still being really nice, so I never thought about it. On this occasion, I had said to the youngest boy that I would call his dad if he didn't stop behaving, which resulted in a huge tantrum. So I ended up calling him and explaining. Luckily for me, the dad was getting off of work early, so he said that he would get home as quick as he could and apologize.
How do you
for the
babysit
kid's
these kids
behavior.
never met their dad?
When I had explained this, the kid was sobbing and ended up locking himself in his room. That day, the dad got home, and they weren't joking when they said he was tall. I'm only 5'3" and was 15.
Hey, I'm 5'2".
When I saw him having to crouch a little to get through the door because of his size, I remember thinking, no wonder the kids won't misbehave when he's there. I said hi and apologized for the work call, which he had brushed off and said that it needed to be done and not to worry. We were both sat on the couch. I can't really remember why, but I think we were talking about what days they needed me for. Now at this stage, the 2 youngest had went outside to play while I was in with the oldest.
8 at
as I had
nighttime, why
just
they
been
outside?
tidying a little from dinner. I was pretty weirded out because his oldest started to get pretty antsy when asked to go to the shop. Kept making excuses to his dad, so I just offered to go. I could see the dad visibly frustrated and just wanted to defuse the situation. Now I would like to point out that everything seemed normal at this point, but I remember feeling really intimidated by the dad. I only met him this one time and spoke for no more than 20 minutes. It turns out that the oldest had said to his mom that he didn't want me left alone with his dad, as he had apparently been watching me a little too closely during our short encounter. The parent...
Girl, what was that sound? My body did. Oof. They had to. I was getting into the story.
had asked me to babysit later on that week, which I had
I'm
agreed
about to read that.
However, in the space of a few days, that quickly changed. I got a text from the mom apologizing for the last-minute arrangements, but saying I couldn't babysit. I was a
So
little
you typed
agitated
all
since I
that, and she said
changed
it's fine.
plans, but
Okay.
wasn't too bothered and just said it was fine, and just let me know when she needs me. She had asked me to come round to get my pay for the last 2 weeks, and I decided to just nip around before going home. As soon as I was in the house, I could tell something was off, but not wanting to pry, I just went in to say hi, talked about books for a little bit, and left. It wasn't until the next week, I think, or the week after, where everything kicked off. I came home to my mom being upset and angry, pacing the living room while my stepdad was trying to calm her down. I immediately went to her, asking what was wrong, feeling a little worried. Instantly, she just threw her arms around me and started crying and holding me. I had meant to be babysitting, but again, got canceled on, so I was home earlier than what I said I was originally. Pulling away confused, I asked her what was wrong again.
Why you let your
Turns out
phone
my
die
mom
at
had been
15?
trying to get a hold of me, but my phone had died. I had went to babysit and nobody was home, so I just decided to head back on the bus, but wasn't able to let my mom know. She sits me down and starts trying to ask me questions about the dad and my time babysitting. Confused, I had mentioned that I had only met him once and only really spoke to him on the phone a handful of times when the kids were acting up. Nodding, my mom started pressing and asked if anything else had happened and kept
The
questioning
dad on
me,
some weird
saying
stuff.
I could tell
I
her
already
anything.
know.
I just looked at
What,
her
he a murderer or
confused and
something?
told her that nothing had happened
creep?
and asked what this was all about. I always remember her taking a deep breath and saying, "Oh, thank God," before letting me know what happened. Now, as I said, the details are vague because this was on the news. It turns out, the guy had killed someone while working and had been taken in by the police. During the interrogation, it turns out that he admitted to beating his wife, and there were speculations of assaults. There was also mention that one of his types were petite girls that had dark hair, pale, which happened to match my description at the time, and my mom was terrified in case something had happened. I'm turning 23 this year, and it still gives me shivers.
Alright. That's it. That was the last one. That noise, So, I'm kind of mad. Number one, because I jump scare. And number two, because of this mom. So you know that your husband, number one, beats on you. Number two, has a type. So why would you want a babysitter that is that type? Like, oh my gosh. The chills, man, the chills. Now I know these weren't that scary, but I'm a wimp, so it's cool. I'm done. That was it. Give this video a thumbs up, a like, comment down below. I'm going to sleep. I think. Yeah. Bye.